To icon or not to icon, we're going to rethink, or if we're going to hopefully give some content today about rethinking social media, both in the footers and even in the headers of the email. And what a perfect guest I have, Jay Oram over at Action Rocket. He's the head of dev. Jay, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your experience, and maybe why you chose this topic.
Yeah. So I've been at Action Rocket for almost 6 years. I
Mhm.
started as a junior email coder, and then worked my way up. And then before that, I was in digital marketing as I kind of owned the whole thing as digital marketing manager or director at lots of different companies, multinationals, things like that. But got distracted by the coding side. And I was on Email Geek Slack, and Elliot Ross, who owns Action Rocket, just put a message out saying we might be hiring someone. Is anyone interested? And I was like, yeah, I'm not very good, but I'm interested. And I think he actually wanted me for a different role, but in the end, I
Yeah.
insisted on junior coder, and it was all good.
Nice. That's awesome. And it's great to have the experience, right? But right, being brand side, now agency side, you get things a little bit from perspective. And for everybody, I've done the email trifecta. I've been agency, client, and vendor side. So that's a whole different mix. Well, Jay, that's great. Sounds like you've got an interesting sort of background. And it's funny when we were trading emails about this very topic. You said you have a sort of a love-hate relationship, maybe mostly hate towards social media icons. So I want to get you explain yourself. What does that mean?
So I I understand the need. So I definitely get the fact that people want to include their social media icons.
Mhm.
But I definitely feel like there's more that can be done with them. And we'll definitely talk about that more later. But right now, like basically, I I just hate the fact that they are just plonked in the header or footer and
Mhm.
left. And no matter the email design, no matter what you're doing, you just
Mhm.
stick the same old footer on the bottom with them social media icons, and they just take up space. And they're not really doing anything, and no one's checking if they are doing anything. And yeah, that's why. So anyone that just puts them there, I kind of hate that idea.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of using them in a much better way,
Yeah.
and that's what I would love people to do.
I'm starting to see a lot. Well, not starting. I've seen a lot of social icons even injected into the welcome email, or maybe even the confirmed opt-in email if people do confirmed opt-in. When do you think it's appropriate to start inserting them? My opinion is until the first couple of marketing based emails, but certainly not in the first one or two emails. But I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely in the marketing emails.
Mhm.
And then the welcome emails would be a good place to introduce your social media, but
Right.
that shouldn't mean that you just put the icons in the bottom. Like I feel like there should be a little bit more behind it. Especially if you think about what you're doing in the rest of your email. So if you think about like that welcome email has probably been through loads of rounds of design, it's gone to a copywriter, it's gone through a
Right.
strategist, they've thought about it, and
Right.
like yeah, there's the at the top. Maybe you're trying to get them to take an action, and the copy before it's been scrutinized. You really thought about it. The
Mhm.
CTA's been A/B tested. You've thought about all that stuff. Everything's there,
Yeah.
and then for some reason you just put your social media icons at the bottom. Why not? If you want people to go to your LinkedIn page or your Facebook page, why
Mhm.
not make it the same? Give it the same amount of work as you do for the rest of the email.
Yeah. I often think that the insertion of social media icons has been long described as, and I'm going to use air quotes, everybody, as a best practice in email. And so like somebody started it and everyone's doing it and they don't really realize why they're doing it. Um, and then I don't even know, it was years and years and years ago, I started getting welcome series, right? And one of them was dedicated to social, like follow us here and engage with us there. And then that sort of died off because I haven't received like literally social proof or social engagement emails in a long, long time. They just sort of are there. Um, and I think I want to clobber somebody when someone says it's a best practice, right? Because it's really not. It's just, it happens to sort of be there. What's there? So you mentioned there's a better way to do it, and I'm curious, like what's your thinking behind that? Because I want to see if I agree or disagree with
Mhm. So I would say that if you're going to put real estate in the bottom of your email
you.
for social media,
Mhm.
then use that as a dedicated module to push someone to something. So if instead of sticking all of your icons there, so X, Facebook, LinkedIn, just stick them there and you don't, no one's put any effort into it, why not
Mhm.
bring in your, like a couple of images from your Instagram feed, write a little bit of copy, put a call to action to say, follow us on Instagram, and just leave it as Instagram for that one email. And then the next email introduced a different social media platform. And then after you've done that, you can
Mhm.
see if that performs better than just having the icon there.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's my thoughts.
I agree to a degree on that. And the reason being is because every once in a while, if I'm in a kind of a surly mood, I get an email from somebody. I don't care who it is, and I actually click on one of those icons, and then I get to their social page, and let's say it's been a month or 6 months, or maybe like they've done 3 posts on their social
Yep.
media. My thought process is, why even put it in there? Now, somebody would sort of roll their eyes and say, well, my social media department is a completely different department, and blah, 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 blah. But you should sort of work together, right? I mean, we're actually going after the same sort of customers, but you also should be aware of the engagement that's happening across your social channels. Excuse me, and only put social icons that you're actually engaging with, right? I think that's important. I think the standard, you know, X, Facebook, Insta, sometimes Snap, depending upon your audience. But I've also seen people, believe it or not, I still see Google Plus
Yep.
in there and some of this stuff. Like it's just a barren wasteland of, hey, let's just leave it in there because maybe we haven't sort of checked it. And so I would agree, but I'd say take it a step further, folks. You guys, whether you're isolated or siloed as an email department, you should be working with your social team and amongst other digital teams to make sure that what you're putting in your email is actually giving value to that person that clicks it. Reward them for that click. Because especially if it's in the footer, I'm sure you know this, right? If they scroll all the way down, we should reward them, especially if we want them to engage with us on social.
Definitely.
What are some of the kooky things, crazy things that you've seen in the use of social icons and footers or even headers? I'm
Yeah, I
curious.
mean, like similar to you, Google Plus, that kind of set it and forget it kind of thing that goes
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
or also having like someone who's set up using an ESP and it's just part of the template, and they haven't even put their social links in there. They're just the icons that you click on and it goes to nowhere.
Yeah.
They're just kind of left. And I know some of the smaller platforms, or like Mailchimp, for example,
Mhm.
they that's already there in the footer, so you don't even have to think about it. They've kind of given it to you, put it in the footer, it's automatically added, and yeah, they're not doing anything.
I love it. I love it, but I also kind of chuckle at it, right? When I see social icons either in email or even on sites, right? Where the icon is like huge
Oh yeah.
compared to everything, right? And it kind of
Yeah.
looks odd,
Yeah.
right? Or if I'm going to sign up for email on someone's website, it got every single social icon known to man, and then like sign up for our newsletters in like 6-point font, right at the bottom, and you can never understand that. And the same holds true, right? Like in email, you can do whatever you want. And so I think for our audience, if you're thinking or have, I mean, you probably do have social icons, I think rethink your process, rethink how you want to use them, rethink the engagement. But most importantly, is how important is it to you to use that as either a distraction or as something that we want people to actually do inside our email. And believe it or not, and Jay, you can either agree or disagree. You may not have to have social icons in there. Not for
Yeah.
every email.
No,
Uh,
definitely not.
not for every email. And the whole injecting sort of the content that's been put in there. Um, I'll go over what I saw as probably one of the most iconic ways to do this. But I'm curious, is there any cutting edge things that you see as social icons, whether in the header or in the footer of the email? I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
I mean, setting them up so they work good in dark mode. That's kind of something that's come about in the
Yeah,
last kind of 6 to 12 months. Of a lot of people kind of, there are code techniques that can definitely make them look good, or you can treat the images in a certain way so they don't get lost on dark mode. That's
yeah,
definitely something important that everyone should be doing.
yeah,
But another thing is pulling in that live content. So there's plenty of ESPs and tools out there that will now allow you to pull in like live content that's literally happened minutes ago or as soon as someone opens the email. And that,
yeah,
I think that's a good use of time. Good use of
yeah. When I own, and that's great. And when I owned my own email marketing agency years ago, I had a creative director that thought of something wonderful to promote social media. And I may or may not get this right, but I think what we did is someone put, it was for a restaurant chain, and someone put something around, we need more salt on your fries. And I'm just using this as an example. And then we did a piece of creative which said, and it was, let's say it was from Jay, right? Jay Smith. We'd be like, we heard you, Jay. If you're interested in following more about this, follow us here, right? And so we created an almost a conversation and then promoted social that particular channel. And it performed, I think, pretty well. I can't take credit for it. It was my creative director, Alex Williams, who did that, but it was kind of a neat way. So I think rather than just dumping this stuff there and also promoting it of what's going on, I think there's ways to make it playful. Remember, social media is not just about bitching and complaining or talking about political stuff or spreading rumors. It's to actually interact with the brand or the people at the brand. And so there's a funness aspect to this. Any final words on social media icons? Because I want to get to the second sort of area that you mentioned in your exchange with me.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on that, or you want to just jump?
Just that if you've got to argue with your email marketing manager or your marketing manager and say
Yeah,
for argue against, then just I would say just look at the clicks, and I'm sure that will straight away give you the answer. So I mean, if 100% of the people that open your email click on your X logo at the bottom, then keep it in. But if over the last 6 months 2 people have clicked on it, then maybe it doesn't need to be there, and you've got a worthy case.
totally agree. All right, so the second thing you in our communication prior to recording this podcast, you said something to the effect of, when setting up interactive emails and not creating a suitable default experience for those that are not using supported email clients. And you ended it with two exclamation points. So tell me about that, man. Tell tell me what you mean by that, and maybe we can jump into it.
Yeah. So my main role is creating interactive email experiences, and that's what I've kind of, and what Action Rocket are kind of known for. But the way that we do it is we start with the worst possible experience. So Outlook windows, that kind of thing, where there's no interactivity, and we can't even use rounded corners properly. So we're starting from blank, and then we're adding things as we go up. So a little bit
Mhm.
of hover, a little bit of interactivity, then full on crazy interactivity, gamification, whatever for Apple
Sure.
Mail, etc. Um, but I teach a lot of people to do interactive email. I talk about
Mm.
interactive email, and I find that a lot of people start at the other end. So they start at the fully interactive thing, and then they don't know what to do or how to give someone a better experience. So
Mm.
instead of trying to progressively enhance a bad experience, what they
Mhm.
do is some people even just take a literal screenshot of the interactive and say, click here to use the interactive, and then they go to a view online or a web page.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. Like there's plenty of things you can do in lots of different email clients, and yeah. So when some agencies or some teams or some brands say, "Oh, we're doing interactive email, it's really really good," but they're
Mhm.
not real. Well, they are, but they're not really, because not everyone gets to experience it or experience at least some of it.
And I think there's posts happening every year since I've been in this business for 24 years. And I can probably count on at least seven fingers the number of times interactive email was listed as an email marketing trend for
Mhm.
that year. And so people read these trends and say, oh, that's wicked cool, right? Like, we need to do it because it's cool. And, you know, damn the torpedoes, let's go, right? And so, like you said, right, they go full bore into it, not realizing that it ain't as easy as everyone says it is, and then you have to backpedal if you don't get the engagement. Look, we can talk about email clients all day. We can talk about interactives, but tell our audience ranges from brand new to many years in the industry. If you were to give practical advice for somebody wanting to jump in on the interactive email bandwagon, right? How would you advise them as Action Rocket, right?
Yeah. So the first thing we always say is that you need a really good reason to do it, and that is the main part of the interactive email section. So yeah, just chucking in a slider or an accordion is not going to fix anything, and also it's not a silver bullet to get your emails to do really well. You need to do all that other stuff too. So segmentation, personalization, list cleaning, all the normal
Right.
stuff you need to do. Then you do
Mm-hmm.
interactive. And then in terms of technicality, there's not just Action Rocket, there's loads of agencies out there that can do interactive email,
Mm-hmm.
or lots of consultants or lots of freelancers that do it really well.
Mm-hmm.
So for your first one, get someone in to help. So they'll help you along at the stages, they'll help it build into your email templates, they'll work with you to figure out ideas. And then
Mm-hmm.
a good team will give you things that you can reuse. So we've done plenty of design systems where you've got those sliders and accordions and hamburger menus and things that you can repurpose and reuse and use different content on, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
continually using interactive email. And
Mm-hmm.
then build your team up. Like if you've got a team of developers that work for you that build those emails,
Yeah.
there's plenty of courses out there. There's plenty of resources. Give them the chance to practice, figure it out, learn, and then bring it to the brand, and
Right.
you'll see a massive growth from everybody. Yeah, so because our strategy team loves it as well. Like it's
Yeah.
not just the coders being like, "Oh, this is funky." Like the strategy team love what it can do, so it's everybody wins.
You mentioned something in the beginning. Make sure that it's gonna work and what's the purpose, right, of it. And from what you basically said is it's not just snap of the fingers, let's go to generative AI and it can generate code for an interactive email, right? So folks,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy, right? And you got to make sure that if your brand's tone or your general email program would look a little odd having an interactive email. Think about your audience too. Do they know how to do an interactive or work within an interactive email? Right. I mean, it is it is dependent upon a lot of different things, and that's why sort of going and talking to somebody first rather than seeing it in a brand that you love and saying I want this. You kind of have to put two and two together. All right. So we're nearing the end, Jay, and I'd love for you to give a couple of key takeaways to our audience on both topics. So the floor is yours, and then I'll give mine real quick.
Okay. Social media icons, they don't just need to sit there in the footer. You can definitely do something more with them.
Mm,
As Andrew said and I shared, there's lots of things from sharing links or promoting content, things like that. So definitely do that and think about them and just put together an argument. And you can even just do an A B test. Do one with a social media icons, do one without, see which
mhm,
one performs better. And then on the second point about interactivity, like we've keep saying, just think about what you want to do,
Yeah.
and then work back and figure out and work with a team that know what they're doing and know what the capabilities are, and you'll get
Mhm.
loads out of interactive email.
My two key takeaways, I echo that 100% agree. My two key takeaways are as follows. If you haven't changed the placement or the things that as it relates to social icons in your email program from or for a year or maybe two, or your template has remained the same, consider changing it up. There's always opportunities for you to test certain things, but if your template or even the notion of social media, having icons for social media has been stagnant, I highly encourage you guys to take a step back and think about how do you want people to interact with your brand in multiple channels. That's just not you, Mr. or Mrs. Email Marketer. This is you working with your social team. And I think the second takeaway is kind of what you echoed from an interactive standpoint. Not everybody wants it. Not everybody needs it. Not everybody knows how it works. Hire experts, do some testing around it, but it's not, I wouldn't use the word cheap. It's not easy to do all of the time. It's not super cheap. Not anybody can do it. And so you certainly have to kind of watch how brands do it, and don't fall for the shiny object. Right? Interactive is cool. I'm not saying that, but it's not a game changer in your email program. It's an add-on, right, to the programmatic success of what you do. Jay, look, I've followed you for a while. Believe it or not, I know you guys are doing some great stuff at Action Rocket. I wanted to thank you for coming on. And this is a unique topic. Certain people have some interesting views on it, but you certainly shared some pretty amazing work. As always, everybody, we're going to give you where to get a hold of Jay on LinkedIn. Find him, follow him, and just keep doing what you're doing. Final words, Jay?
Oh, thanks for inviting me on. And definitely, just if you want to talk email, especially email code, then just message me. Like, I'm up for
Awesome.
talking about email code all the time.
Awesome, because I hate email coding. Not that I hate it. I just it's not my value, right? It's not what I'm meant to do. Jay, thank you again, everybody. Thank you for continuing to support. Email never sleeps. Keep doing email, everybody, but think about maybe how to figure out how to get out of that box and try something new here and there. Thanks again, everybody. Cheers.